I'd like to thank HathiTrust and all of you who are here today. I plan to talk about a library guide we put together here at the University of Missouri called Prices and Wages by Decade. It's mainly based on links out to HathiTrust. So far, it's received 4.5 million hits, which is rather unusual for a LibGuide. Today I plan to tell you about the site, and in particular, why I believe it's had the power to draw so much traffic. I want to share with you what I've learned from this experience so that you could create a similar guide on a topic of interest to you, and perhaps bring a lot of new visitors to your own library website, and by extension, to the HathiTrust digital library as well. To put things in perspective, I want to tell you a bit more about the statistics that we're seeing on this site. Currently, it gets twice as many hits as our library homepage and roughly 6 times more than our database's gateway. Here is the progression of page use since we started it in 2012. We are getting close to 1 million annually. And here is some more detail, showing the average daily views for each year. When compared to the other LibGuides that we made here in the Government Documents Department, the Prices and Wages Guide gets quite a bit more traffic. As you can see, over 74,000 for the month of March 2022. And this is just going down the list showing the page view stats on our other library guides. Typically, our guides get less than 50 views a month. In fact, some LibGuides that have an important topic, such as the one on U.S. foreign relations, received only 14 views in the same month that the Prices and Wages Guide received over 74,000. I honestly never expected that the Prices and Wages site would get more views than the others you see here on this list. It came as a total surprise. And when we look at HathiTrust's own web statistics, it turns out that we are now one of their top referrers, right up there with the University of Pennsylvania and Wikipedia. So what is it about this site that makes it different? If you haven't seen it before, I'll just introduce you to it very briefly. Very simply, all we want to do is to help people find retail prices for common items or wages for typical jobs back to colonial times. The navigation is based on date. After choosing a decade, the visitor will see a pretty consistent arrangement of price and wage links for that time period. Our main goal is to get people the answer in as few clicks as possible. So we decided to go with page-level links rather than giving people lists of books to check or subject headings to browse. Our site now has over 22,000 links, almost all pointing to digitized government publications or other primary resources. 70% of our links lead to HathiTrust, 18% to Fraser, the digital library of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and to a lesser degree we point to Internet Archive and Google Books. For the born digital era, of course, we have to point to active websites. On our Prices and Wages Guide, we do not point to anything in subscription databases because it would mean a paywall for most of our users who are not university affiliates. In fact, only 2% of Prices and Wages users are even in the state of Missouri, and of course, just a fraction of those would be affiliated with our campus. So where do the other 98% come from? We actually have a worldwide user base, about 3/4 of visitors in the United States, and the rest are in other countries. We've received visitors on our site from all of these countries in just the last 18 months. The global reach seems pretty remarkable since I never actively promoted it, other than mentioning it on gov.gal and the Business and Econ Librarians listserv. And I know from our Google Analytics account that we don't get a lot of traffic coming to us from other libraries. So how are all these people finding us? The simple answer is Google refers most of them. 84% of visitors find us by Googling their question. And they don't Google Prices and Wages by Decade, University of Missouri. They actually type in the question that they want to have answered. These are just a few of the questions that we know that people have typed in. Google Analytics shows us this. I believe that one of the most important reasons for our site's popularity is that it functions more as an index to pages than a bibliography of sources. This is fundamentally different from most library topic guides, which have a typical pattern. They generally mention a few important works and tell how to find more, for example, by using subject headings, and then teach strategies for research. That's all quite appropriate for most college users who may need to learn how to do research for a class. But when the topic is prices and wages, the sources we like best aren't very meaningful on a bibliography because their titles are so vague, and some are massive in size. The serial set, for example, has more than 15,000 volumes. Giving a person that title, it would still be a needle in a haystack search for them. And as for subject headings, the serial set subject heading is U.S. Politics and Government. In the end, I found it easier just to find the exact pages in these sources and then link to them. So that's why we decided to make this website an index rather than a bibliography. There are other elements to consider as well. I'm not an expert on search engine optimization, but we seem to have lucked into a model that brings us a lot of visitors. I'll go through a few of the elements that seem to be working for us. For one, we use a concise, descriptive title. This is important because there is competition on a page of Google search results. Our title tells the user exactly what they will find in as few words as possible. Next, the keywords and annotations are important. When I first started this site, I very liberally added words into these annotations, listing as many occupations and items that people could buy as I could. I did that because I noticed that Google was picking up on those words and suggesting our site to people if a word matched one that they had typed into the search box. However, I am conflicted about adding tons of keywords. As our site grew over the years with more and more links, it got very long and started to appear overwhelming. So I edited a lot of those keywords out, but I do believe that that did reduce the potential visitor count. And then, of course, we use HathiTrust's page-level links. Our goal is to get a person to the answer in as few clicks as possible. Now, way back in 2012, I was mistaken about HathiTrust's page-level links. I thought that they were persistent links, but I didn't look carefully. Only the link to this item was permanent. Not knowing that, I built the whole site on page-level links. HathiTrust's links did not go off the mark that often. Well, what would happen is that if a contributing library reprocessed a volume and perhaps removed a few duplicate pages, then the non-persistent link would go off by that number of pages. Every so often, I would do a massive link checking project and try to find and fix all the links that were no longer pointing to the correct page. Because the links didn't actually break, I couldn't use a link checker to find them. I had to click on the links and try to determine whether they were pointing to the page that I had originally attended. But fortunately, HathiTrust's page-level links captured after 2021 are now permanent if Google digitized the volume. And here's how to find out. What you want to do is just go and look at any page in a book that you're interested in and check in the lower left-hand corner, and if you see a watermark that says digitized by Google, then you'll know that you can grab the page-level link to this page and it will be permanent. Now, about what we learned about hosting a high-traffic site used mainly by non-affiliates. We found that more than half are mobile users and that the percentage goes up every year, while desktop users keep trending down. We found that our library navigation bar was causing problems for non-affiliates. A lot of what we have standard in our library navigation is irrelevant to non-MU people. It was especially useful getting rid of the search box because people were trying to use it and they were just getting lost on our site. So this is what it looked like after we decluttered our standard navigation bar that we have across the top of every one of our library pages. We learned that our high-traffic site does not necessarily result in more pressure on reference staff. We were never overwhelmed with reference questions about prices or wages. At its height, we might have gotten around 25 questions a month. Since then, we have added content to the site, and this seems to satisfy people because now we receive less, only about 5 or 10 questions a month, while the page reviews remain very high at over 70,000 per month. We also learned that growth requires continual reorganization. The fun part is finding new things in HathiTrust and adding links, but when the lists become too long, it's necessary to take time out and subdivide sections and rearrange the content. About half our time is spent adding content, and the other half is on reorganizing and trying to keep the site consistent across all of its pages. Now, there are benefits to compiling an index if you want to try something like this. It helps you, it helps your patrons, your institution, and it helps HathiTrust. How it helps you is it helps to establish your reference specialty. Maybe there's something that you really like. Maybe you have a favorite kind of question. You can really develop your expertise in this by developing a website that focuses on it exclusively. You can, of course, help thousands of people find authoritative sources online by building an index like this. It's nice exposure for your institution in that there's no cost to make a link list. You may already have LibGuides or even any other kind of web software. It's a simple matter of making a list of links. And finally, it contributes to the success of HathiTrust's shared digital model. So here are some ideas for choosing a topic for your index. First, think to yourself, what's your favorite kind of question, and wouldn't you like to get more of them? Well, if you make a website that focuses on that favorite kind of question, you will get more, and then that will give you the opportunity to answer people's questions, and you'll develop even more expertise. Anyway, it's a really good idea if you're going to spend a lot of time on a site to have the topic be something that you truly enjoy. Another idea is to consider books that are difficult to navigate online. Some very early books, 1700s and so, they don't have tables of contents or indexes, back-of-the-book indexes, and it can be quite time-consuming for a user to page through them, page after page, looking for something, or even using the search for the text feature that HathiTrust offers. It can still be a little difficult to navigate, but you can index such a book really easily by making a separate corollary website that points to pages in HathiTrust. Another option is think about whether your library takes pride in certain special collection strengths. If your library has a very strong interest in a certain topic overall, you kind of put it out there that you do like helping people find a certain kind of information, that would be something to consider. And then lastly, or at least there's a lot of ways that you can choose a topic, but another idea is to get out some of those old print indexes and see what they are indexing and see if you can get some inspiration that way. And this makes it all worth it. When I got this nice thank you card, I scanned it and I sent it to HathiTrust. I wanted to share it with the libraries, which had uploaded the volumes that I'd used to answer this person's question. After all, I just helped her find the information, but most of the work was actually in digitizing it and getting it into the HathiTrust digital library. I just want to say thank you also to all the libraries that have uploaded content. These are just a few of the libraries that uploaded volumes that I use again and again. So I just wanted to do a shout out to these. There's no way I could actually name all of them, but I just want you to know that you have my heartfelt appreciation and that you really have helped many people over the 10 years that this site has been online. And at this point, I'd be happy to take your questions.